The House of Representatives Ad hoc Committee investigating the legal status, operations and budgetary inclusion of the Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council, PFIPC, has begun its public hearing with a pledge to determine whether the council was established in accordance with the law. The sitting is attended by the House Leader, Professor Julius Iovere, who represented the Speaker, members of the committee, the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, representatives to the Central Bank of Nigeria, and other government officials. During the hearing, the committee chairman, Mr. Yusuf Gadi, raised questions on the office allocation to the controversial agency, as well as the deployment of staff to the council.
You are the head of civil service of the Federation. You are going to help us work with Nigerian people. You are working with the Nigerian people. We want to know who authorizes the request for organizational structure for the PFIPC.
From our records, the council in question submitted a request to the OHCSF for approval of its organizational structure on the 6th of August 2025 without providing the requisite documents. Consequently, the request was not granted.
She also explained that although an authorized establishment for 314 staff positions was issued, the council's request for approval of its organizational structure was not granted because it failed to provide the required documents.
While there is speculation that the council occupied office space in the Federal Secretariat, Phase 3, we can state categorically that the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation did not allocate any office space to the PEAC-PFICP. The office space indicated as the council's physical address in the Federal Secretariat Phase 3 is part of the office spaces allocated to the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, vid letter dated 16th November 2023, to reallocate as they deem fit for the use of the Office of the Secretary to the Government.
Somehow, this unfortunate, case is catching on in a particular way, while the dramatis personae are prominent and important to be addressed. The fact that such a thing happened is a little more concerning. That and a number of other issues we'll be discussing this morning with a lawyer and principal counsel at Jiti Ogunye Chambers, Mr. Jiti Ogunye. He joins us here in the studio. Thanks for joining us this morning.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
First of all, we know that Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila has been named in this matter. Some guy, I forgot his name now, he's late, has also been named. One, Mr. Adeyemi, has also been named in this matter. But then the issue is so many complexities seem to be playing out as far as this issue is concerned. Let's be clear, first of all, is this matter in court? We know that the president has directed ICPC to look at it. The president has also, the National Assembly, the House of Representatives, is already doing some hearings. Is the case in court now?
No, there was a charge that was preferred, but Prince Adeyemi Matthew had remained elusive, prompting the court to issue that bench warrant for his arrest on the 14th of July, leading to his being fished out of his hole somewhere in Osun State. Again, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila had filed a defamation suit in court, but the matter has not been assigned to a court. And proceedings has not commenced.
Okay.
So we can say, therefore, that these matters are not in court, thereby, in my view, giving good opportunity for the ICPC to conduct a thorough investigation not one-sided, not investigating Palm, Prince Adeyemi Matthew. I call him Palm alone, but investigate all the other persons in the chain and then establish the truth of this matter.
So clearly you're saying that the case cannot be in court and these other investigations should be going on at the same time?
It shouldn't be so.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Now, from what you know and from what you have seen about this case, what are the things, what are the complexities you see, and what are the things that we could be missing as a people?
Yeah, let me just run down this thing. Look, by by letter purportedly written by the Chief of Staff to the President, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, dated 8th of March 2024, with effect from 1st March 2024, and a forged gazette. These are the foundational documents if you want to understand this thing. First, a forged letter of appointment, purportedly appointing Palm as the DG of the Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council, and that forged gazette.
How do we know it is forged? How has it been
I know so. I know so. Nigerians should know so. Why? Because document was submitted to say that this is the law establishing me, and that law does not exist. It doesn't exist. That law was never made. Nigeria will get to validate all that I'm saying in due course. He submitted this document, and then the bureaucracy, federal bureaucracy, started reacting to him. First, he got an office in the Federal Secretariat from the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. An officer there, facilitated that, which was what the head of service was saying, 2 days ago during the plenary session or the committee session investigating this matter in the House of Representatives. 2, he then contacted the office of the head of service, who, in a period of time, did 2 critical things. First, that office gave him an establishment document. That establishment document approved the number of staff he could get, grade level 4, and so on and so forth. It's called the establishment document. And 2, that office gave him a waiver to recruit his own staff. 2 important documents with these forged premises. Okay? 3, he then engaged the office of the Accountant General of the Federation, requesting via another forged letter from the office of the Permanent Secretary, State House, directed to the office of the Accountant General, that he should be given, his agency should be given administrative code for the purpose of budgeting, for the purpose of funding, of financing, and for the purpose of financial reporting. And the office of the Accountant General then reacted to that letter by sending this to the office of the Director General of Budget Office of the Federation. And then, as the CBN had stated and validated, requested that accounts should be opened for this agency. So the office of the Director General of Budget of the Federation received these 4 documents, namely, as I've said, establishment document, 2, waiver to recruit, called recruitment waiver, 3, to get a code, generating a code and transmitting it to that office, and 4, an application by the DG himself, the phony DG, that look, his personal cost should be included in the budget. So with these 4 documents, they opened a line for him and allocated to his agency the sum of 1.5 or 1.4 billion naira, covering personal costs 800 million, overhead costs 200 million, and 300 million capital vote. Well, unfortunately, until this whole thing unraveled, he had not been able to access any such money. That's why the CBN was saying that those accounts were dormant. So in the chain, you had these institutions reacting to this man who had gotten a footing at the Federal Secretariat, well-decorated place, putting photographs of people there, including the photograph of Doyin Salami, who led that office when Buhari was there. Because the man claimed that he was heading 2 agencies. Quite frankly, not just Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council. He also claimed that he was also the DG of the PIC, Presidential Economic Advisory Council. So you get to the office, he had the portraits of those who had headed such office and all that, and got at the stage the Shower of Ogunye to come there and shower his royal blessings on him as a proud Ogunye son. It's ridiculous. It's unbelievable.
But the Nigerian is naturally skeptical about this, particularly because certain names have been mentioned. The chief of staff, no less. And that the claim of 400 million naira bribe, directly or indirectly going to the chief of staff, pretty much gave this story its wings, because the moment the name of the chief of staff was mentioned, the case blew up. Now, there are those who are calling for the... First of all, tell us, because in all that you have spoken now, you haven't mentioned how the chief of staff's name came into this saga in the first place.
Look, the chief of staff is innocent of this allegation. But I think that...
But his name is very, very prominent.
It's politically expedient for his traducers to latch on to that name. Now, who mentioned the chief of staff? The forger. This phony character. Who, in June, granted the press conference and alleged frontally, I can't believe the temerity, that he gave in 400 million to an intermediary who is now late. The Yoruba will say that the child of an impotent person, a eunuch who cannot father a child, is always abroad. He said that the Tanimola is dead. He said that he died in a hotel and that there was arson. And that it was through that Tanimola that he passed the money, was the one who arranged the money. How the money was paid, he didn't say. Whether in cash or transfer, he didn't say, and all that. But by just mentioning the name,
is there a proof?
Nigeria went to town.
Is there a proof of that 400 million naira being sent anywhere?
It would be has no proof. He just said it. But Nigeria, this is a country where, unfortunately, trust in government has broken down. And Nigerians are willing to believe anything that is negative about government. Because Nigerians have seen a lot in the hands of those who govern. I must say this. And so, with that atmosphere of cynicism, people tend to believe things. Look, here was a man who was only reacting, who was malicious. And how was he malicious? Look, in the old narrative, when the chief of staff received a communication from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the ONSA, Office of National Security Advisor, also received a letter dated the same date, separately. One written by the Department of Economic Trade and Investment, one written by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, inquiring about that. Look, this man, there is this man that is going around meeting with foreign delegations, ambassadors, holding meetings with them, claiming that he's promoting. Clarify the status. Do you know him? And they then attached a so-called letter of appointment to it. That was the first time the chief of staff then saw that and said, wait a minute, who is this guy? So immediately, that letter was dated 16th, delivered on the 17th. On the 17th, he petitioned the DGSSS and the Inspector General of Police, stating that this guy is a forger. I never wrote such a letter. This letter is fake. Get him arrested and prosecuted. So the chief of staff was indeed the whistleblower. All the people in the chain that I've told you about, none of them saw that this forgery. So it was the chief of staff that wrote that letter to the Inspector General of Police, following which the man was arrested and detained for 23 days.
But there are those who will also say...
Just let me land on that. Nigeria didn't know then. The man was detained for 23 days. He didn't complain about being killed then in detention. And when he was to be charged to court, the charge was filed. He said his lawyer was not there. First date. So they gave him a date for his lawyer to come. The second time, his lawyer came. They said that he was ill. The third time, the judge didn't sit. The fourth time, it was the turn of his lawyer to be sick. Until he then went to town and started talking about being killed and all that, which then made him to say that, I cannot come out, I cannot go to court, which then led to the bench warrant being issued. The point to note is that this man never mentioned, even in the investigation report, the first time he was arrested, never mentioned anything about 400 million, never mentioned anything about Bajaber. But it was when he was arraigned and the chief of staff then learned that the man quietly was still parading himself as very quiet, perhaps hoping that this money that had been allocated to him in the budget would just trickle into that account, or some other things will happen. He didn't shout, Nigeria didn't know. It was the chief of staff again, the second time, on June 11th, that said, this man that I'm still hearing about, he then did a public disclaimer of the man.
Okay.
And so, in my view, it was in reaction to that, in a very malicious way, that the man then had a press conference and stated all that he had to say and all that.
Well, I'm pretty sure that Kayla has some questions for you as well on this issue. Kayla, go ahead.
Indeed, Mr. Jiti, I mean, it's expected to hear you defend your clients. You are Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila's lawyer. In fact, the statement that I'm looking at right now actually came from you, where you said your client gave his testimony. That's when he responded to the invitation by the ICPC. But before I go into the major questions I have for you, is it possible for us to know some of the questions he was asked? Because we weren't privy to some of the things that your client was asked. Is it possible to get that, or is there a rule saying we can't hear that?
The matter is still under investigation. It may not be professionally ethical for me to then disclose the questions. But pretty much the question is about this letter. What's the source? Did it emanate from your office? And the answer is in the public domain. The office of the chief of staff does not, as a matter of practice, rules, and procedure, issue appointment letter in the federal public service. The office of the SDF does. So from the beginning, that letter couldn't have been issued by its office. That letter couldn't have been issued by its office, apart from the fact that the letter on its face patently is forged. Why? Seal-wise, signature-wise, everything is, the letter is a forgery, and it's even patent on its face. For example, if you were privy to see a copy of the letter, which I've seen, the reference letter in the usual letter written by the office of the chief of staff, you have SH, meaning State House, /COS. Then the remainder space is left. So that depending on the letter that is being issued and the sequence, you then use pen to put the remainder of the. This guy just forged his letter, typed everything. Because it's a forgery.
Okay. All right, so thanks for that clarification. I want to quote you. You said, at the very least, we can allege negligence by this administration on this particular matter, to confirm that you said that. And the fact that negligence, the fact that you who are Femi Gbajabiamila's lawyer, can say that the least we can do is say negligence at least happened. Isn't negligence enough for there to be more questions as to how we could allow something like that happen? What do you think should be the punishment, let's use the word punishment, for this sort of negligence at this level of governance?
That answer was in direct response to the question posed by Dr. Ruben Abati. It's true. And he posed the question, is this administration guilty of incompetence? And I thought that if I were to say so, that would be, to me, that would sound like you are trivializing the matter. It's not just gross incompetence. Look, I look at the situation whereby somebody brought a letter. You are the head of service, or you have staff under you. You are the accountant general, you have staff under you. And that letter claimed to have been written by the chief of staff, when you should know that that office does not issue a letter of appointment. So what does that say to you? That would mean that at the very least you have to make inquiries and dig and dig and dig to establish the truth. But all these things didn't happen across this chain. That's the point I'm making. And I'm saying that if we are not talking about willful connivance, deliberate collusion on the part of those persons who ought to have known, either at the middle level stage, preparing documents for their, because some of those documents are just signed for the SGF, for the permanent secretary, 4, the head of service, really. And so public service is a very dangerous and treacherous place. So if we're not talking about collusion, the very least is that we're talking about gross negligence, which should attract severe punishment, in my view, because this is a sordid matter. It's so embarrassing that somebody, even if you admit that, yes, this is forgery, everything, that somebody could walk his way like that into the purse of government at that level is incredible. It's incredible. You know.
Who should be punished? Who dropped the ball, in your view? Who should the punishment? Who should face punishment for this matter, in your view?
The question this way, because that question is putting me on the spot. You said that I'm counsel to the chief of staff. So if I say he has nothing to do with this matter, and I then start apportioning blame to the other authorities in the chain, they are in the same government. But it should be obvious to Nigerians who dropped the ball. For example, in some of the communications, Nigerians will be shocked to realize that this man, who was calling himself the DG of the Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council, interchangeably was calling his agency Presidential Foreign Intervention Council. Yes. And so the officials who are communicating back to him were interchangeably using that name also. Meaning, this is what I'm saying. This man presented documents. I am Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council. He forged a gazette. Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council. He then wrote a letter asking for codes, asking for establishment document, and he was calling himself Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council, using intervention and investment interchangeably. And so the authorities were also using that name. So is it that at the very basic level, at the very minimum level, the authorities weren't sure what name that agency was bearing? More so when he would write as DG PEAC / that's Presidential Economic Advisory Council, and then / Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council. So there are enough red flags that ought to have been seen by this body, so that if it were not a case of collusion, it would be, what fella would call Babanla nonsense, Babanla negligence, meaning a negligence that is so egregious and enormous to the extent that it's bordering on what we call criminal negligence. Because negligence can be civil, it can be criminal. If negligence is such that a duty that is compelled by law was not performed, it could then become a criminal neglect, which is punishable under the law.
That actually brings me to my final question, Mr. Ogunye, because that's where the conversation is going. Even if it's negligence, does it get to the part where this kind of negligence can be termed criminal? But before I toss back to Ayo, there was something you said recently. Many people have been asking the Chief of Staff to vacate the office, even if it's for 30 days, while an investigation is going on. And I heard you say that there's no reason why he should. Actually, you said it will undermine, asking him to vacate would undermine rather than advance justice. But his critics are saying that an investigation is ongoing. You have the ability, based on your office, to influence how this investigation goes. And so maybe a temporary movement away while this is going on would be the moral thing to do, would be, the honorable thing to do in a matter like this. But just to get your thoughts on it, and then how do you think that him being asked to vacate that office for a while will undermine rather than advance justice? Because most people would believe that justice would be seen to be served if he is not directly in a position where he can influence such a matter?
I don't think that he should vacate office temporarily in respect of this ongoing investigation. That will give credence, in my view, to the wrong-footed allegation that he collected money from this man, and as the man had, suggested that he knew something about the murder of one Tanimola or Asin and all those things and all that. Again, which is the second point I've made, why the fixation on the chief of staff? Somebody said, I didn't write a letter. So what of the other people who wrote the letters? What of the Akadajeda who generated codes? So if all of them were to resign, for example, will you empty government? 3, I've said that my knowledge of civil service procedure or public service procedure is that when investigation is being conducted internally, you may not ask somebody to resign or be suspended. That's interdiction. It is only when investigation is concluded and somebody has been indicted and may have to be arraigned in court, if it has some criminal element, that interdiction operates. That means for the duration of that period, it will be in court to answer to the charges, it will be on suspension. But we have not even reached the threshold. Right from day one, the man, who was luckily arrested, was saying, look, he had to resign. I need investigation and all that. At the point is, yes, I need investigation from United Nations. And the political opposition was investing in him, investing in the fraudster that ought to have been condemned, just because the chief of staff, was there. And so it was convenient for them to latch on to that and all that. So why will you believe somebody like that and you don't believe what the other person is saying? That I know nothing about this matter. If you, for those who are calling for resignation, I think that they should work harder. They should look for more terrible things that they thought that he had done. And then perhaps, start working on that. But on this one, I think that is...
So, in long and short, you don't think that the chief of staff has any case to answer?
No. It's a very convenient instruction and brief for me.
Okay.
Because of truth and honesty. If he had something to do with this, perhaps I will not be acting in this case.
Well, thank you very much for your time this morning. Mr. Jiti Ogunye is a lawyer and principal counsel at Jiti Ogunye Chambers. Thank you again for your time with us. And that's the show this morning. Thank you for the privilege of being a part of your day. I'm Ayo Makinde. Business Morning is on the hour. Enjoy the rest of your day.
And I'm Kayla Megwa. See you tomorrow.